Thank you so much, Mqolisi. It certainly is. Keep calm and carry on into the final as the Proteas women look to create history. They will, of course, be facing off against India in the final of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup out in Dubai today. Now, this is the first time that they play in the final of a 50-over format tournament, and they could become the first senior national side, men or women, to win an ICC Cricket World Cup. So history could be made today. Now, to look at this game and what this moment really means for the Proteas women's team, as well as the growth of cricket in South Africa, we are joined by SABC News researcher Janet Whitton. Janet, such a pleasure speaking to you this morning. A very good morning to you. And Janet, I just have to touch on what a moment this is, just looking at the development of women's cricket in South Africa and the investments that have been made, not only from a Cricket South Africa point of view, but also you have the various clubs, and I would say probably leading that front would be, one would look at the DP World Lions, who actually have 6 players in this current team. So this really is reaping the rewards of the investments made.
There have been investments made, and it's funnily enough, India and South Africa are in a very similar situation as far as the development of the women's game is concerned. So this is important on that score for both these teams. But as you say, South African women's provincial cricket has taken huge strides in the last few years. And that is shown in the fact that the South African women's team has now made it into their first ODI World Cup final. As you know, we've played in T20 finals before, but now it's an ODI World Cup final, and neither of these teams has won it before, so it's important on that score. But the Lions have been at the forefront, and so have the Titans been at the forefront of developing women's cricket in South Africa. And I think that you will see it in terms of the amount of people that actually watch the game. Certainly in, a decade ago, if the South African women had reached the latter stages of the World Cup, nobody would have even known, let alone watched it. But I think that you'll find the viewership numbers today on this particular match will be absolutely massive. I've heard people talking about it everywhere, and people who've never been interested in women's sport before know what's been happening in this game, in this game and in this tournament. Everybody knows who Laura Wolfhard is. So then the players are becoming household names as well, which is fabulous for the women's game and, let's face it, for women's sport in general.
Indeed, Janet, that is so true. When you look at South Africa coming into this final up against India, both nations we speak about having made massive investments into the game for women. We look at 2 nations, as you say, that have never won it. So either way, today we will have a brand new winner. But I also want to touch on, where do you think the pressure lies? Because we know how big India is when it comes to cricket. Does it lie more with this Indian cricket team, who will be playing in front of the home crowd?
And it's going to be a very big home crowd, so that's going to be something that's going to be quite intimidating. But having said that, I think that the South African women will also get a lot of energy from the fact that they are playing in front of such a crowd, even though the crowd is not necessarily for them. The atmosphere will be absolutely amazing. I think that they will get a lot from that. They've been playing in this tournament in India all this time, and they've played India already, remember, in this tournament, and beat them. So yes, they do know what they're facing. I think the conditions are going to be the key, though, for South Africa, because what is significant here is that India are playing their 4th match in a row in Mumbai at the stadium on this pitch. South Africa are playing here for the first time. There's a potential, apparently, for a little bit of rain today, but they are hoping to get a full match in. You can see some of the covers coming up in past matches. That's going to be key. I think the conditions are going to be more important rather than the atmosphere and the fact that they've got a crowd. The crowd is just going to be fantastic for both teams.
Cherry on the top. And when you look at that first encounter between South Africa and India, how much do we then, as cricket lovers, look into that performance where South Africa had that 3-wicket victory? Do we look at it that much, or do the players just get into the field and say, let's forget what happened in the group stages, this is a new day, it's a new game, and almost not allow themselves to be complacent because they've beaten this Indian side before?
That's exactly what Laura Wolfhard said in her press conference yesterday, that they actually must forget about what happened. And in a sense, there's a lot of truth in that. You always look at a new game from the start. India are in the World Cup final because they've played particularly the last few games very well. Remember, they were in danger of not even making the semi-finals at one stage after that loss to South Africa. Since then, they've been playing really, really well. They've played all of these 3 games that they've played in Mumbai. They've won them comprehensively. India are a very good team, and they have some very, very good players in that team. So I think it really would bode South Africa well just to forget about what happened in the last game. Start from scratch now. Look at it and look at who they are facing. That's going to be important, just to look at the match now. The good thing for South Africa, of course, is the fact that they've played so well in this World Cup, and every match that we've won because of a really good performance from a different player. So players across the board, right from 1 to 11, have kind of come to the party. And we hope that, one or two of them, at least one or two of the batsmen and a couple of the bowlers, and they have a few, they have a really good bowling attack, South Africa. They could bring in another spinner today because of the conditions that they're facing. So Masabata Klaas might come into the game at the expense of one of the batters. But, they've all played really well at some point. Let's hope they all play really well today.
All right, Janet, I do have to wrap it up with you, but just give me your final thoughts in terms of, are we seeing the first ICC World Cup trophy coming to South Africa at the end of the game today?
It's going to be very difficult, and it's going to require a really comprehensive performance from the whole South African team, but I honestly believe they have a really good chance of doing that.
Oh, Janet, it's also always such a lovely pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. That is Janet Whitton. She is a SABC News researcher, just talking all things ahead, of course, of the big final today as South Africa take on India. And we speak about big performances coming through from different players. In every single game, there has been a player that steps up when another one falls short in terms of performance. And that's exactly what we're looking for here today.